Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. I'm joined today with our executive producer, Joe Venosa. We're going to discuss some of the agendas and meetings coming up in the county that we think will interest you. We're also going to take a look at the Heinfarman Carnival, which has been going on in the county for almost 100 years. Our guest today is going to be Wicomico County Councilman Josh Hastings, and we're going to talk about several subjects from the environment to park usage with him. We're going to go out to the Pemberton Park to talk about the Festival of 5Ks coming up in this fall. And finally, we're going to give Josh a few minutes to talk about what's important to him. He's a resident and a representative of this county. Be interested to see what he has to say. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
Joe, I'm doing well.
All right. Well, so just to go over some of the upcoming agenda items, July is National Parks and Rec Month. So we're talking about how great the weather is. It's a great time to get out, right?
Today is the first day we've had sort of actual livable summer weather for a lot of people. So this is a day to go out there if you're able to. Yeah, we're in good shape right now. So July 2nd is the next county council meeting. It's at 6 o'clock, and it's at the government office building in room 301. It's open to the public. And one of the public hearings they're going to have at the meeting on July 2nd is an amendment to the rules and regulations for the park and recs. Basically bringing their rules and regulations up to the 21st century, the present time. Things like drones, concealed carry weapons. There is a chance at this meeting during the public hearing for public comments. Indeed.
So talk a little bit about how important it is for folks to get up there and speak their mind.
Sure. Well, again, let's look at it in the context of where we are. We're in a county where our primary agency, our role as citizens, can be addressed by directly going to our local government. And when you have the opportunity to go to any kind of session, whether it's a county council meeting, or in some capacity, if you're in a smaller municipal level, these meetings are really your one opportunity to make your voice heard. So for example, with tomorrow's meeting, when they talk about issues specifically with the code regarding Parks and Rec, if you are an outdoors person, if you're interested in certain kinds of activities, if you're concerned about certain ideas that might be brought up, this is your chance to go up and speak your piece.
And we hope that everyone does. It's actually a big benefit to our government leaders to hear how we feel about things and to make sure that our concerns are addressed. On July 8th, the Airport Commission is meeting at the airport conference room on the first floor of the terminal. There's a lot of action going here. We're looking at expanding the airport terminal length the runway length. But I think it's also important just for the public to stay involved in what an important commission is doing there.
Absolutely. We forget sometimes that the airport is one of the biggest financial resources we have as far as its impact on many aspects of county life. And certainly there's going to be decisions made about financial allocation to that. So this is an issue too where even if you don't necessarily use the airport often or aren't maybe very much aware of it, our tax money, our funds are going to be appropriated for aspects of the airport and its operation. So it is a big deal. It's something to definitely keep an eye on.
On July 16th, the County Council will have their second meeting for the month. This will be a 10 a.m. meeting. At that time, in next episodes, we'll talk more about the public hearings that are coming up there, but there are several that are coming up, including issuing bonds for the Fruitland primary construction for the school, and also the County Council amending the code so that any motorized events have to be approved by the County Council. So, well, that's all for this segment. We're going to look at the Heinfarman Carnival, and when we come back, we'll be visiting with Josh Hastings to talk about several items in the county. Heinfarman Carnival continues in Wicomico County until July 13th. They are closed on July 3rd and 4th so their families can join in with the Independence Day festivities at home. Each night, the food starts at 6:30 and the rides start at 7:15. The fireworks are actually scheduled for July 6th there, and the rain date for the fireworks is July 13th. For more information, go to hebronvfd.com. Back to our show. Welcome back. We're here with Josh Hastings, County Council member, Wicomico County. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, which was on June 20th, one of the most interesting things was the advancement of the land preservation in Wicomico County. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that came about?
Yeah. So first of all, it's my day job. I think most people probably think those council members that's our full-time job. No, it's a small amount of our time, smallish. Yeah, so the world that I work in is land preservation. That means trying to make sure we're protecting critical farmland, critical habitat, hunting grounds, parks, and open space. The really good news, really big news actually for us, we had at our past council meeting, or I guess one not that long ago, we actually passed the most amount of, we actually helped preserve the most amount of acreage of Maryland agricultural land in Wicomico County in history of the county. So in that one meeting, I don't know how many total acreage it was. I think I actually said it during the meeting, but basically we helped the farmers who want to make sure that land can be farmed for their grandkids or their great-grandkids or 30 generations later. They put together a conservation easement. They work with the state, and they help make that happen. And then the county, of course, we approve it. So really big news for a county who says we care a lot about agriculture. That really shows that we do.
I think that's one of the key elements is that the land will still be used for agriculture.
Yep.
Why do you think it's so important to put it into the preservation system versus just hoping they keep farming it?
Yeah, the thoughts and prayers and the hopes just don't work. God bless them. We've tried that for so long. We did that with bay restoration and with water quality. Didn't go anywhere. So Maryland, we are a leader in land preservation. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I was with Governor Moore to officially announce that we have hit 30% of Maryland land preserved officially. The reason why we do that, and by the way, let me back it up. The way that works is 1/2 of 1% of every real estate transaction. Every time someone sells a property, 1/2 of 1% of that money goes into a pot, and that's used for things like agricultural land preservation, but also hunting ground preservation or critical habitat, protecting certain species. All of that goes into one historic areas. That's another part of it. So there's a long list of farmers who want to make sure that land is able to continue to be farmed many generations long after them. And so for them, that's a really critical moment to be able to actually apply to be chosen, and then to have the money available to actually do that. So it's a really big deal in the agricultural community with which I work.
So if people want to get more information about this, you would be a really good resource. How would they reach out to you?
Yeah, if folks can call me anytime, 410-251-5268. That's my cell. Or you can email me, Josh at my day job is josh@forevermaryland.org or jhastings@wicomicocounty.org. And then I can help put it in touch with other groups. There's also federal programs. There's some local programs. There's actually a donation program that folks can do. It's really good, by the way, I'll say, for if you have a lot of land and you want to lower the amount of your taxable amount that you have to pay in taxes. When you put a conservation easement, it usually drops to about 30-ish% of the value. So that's less that you have to pay on your taxes. It's really a good benefit all in all. It's a really good thing. So I'd be happy to put other folks in touch.
I also, at the work session on June 20th, the open work session, you talked about bamboo, the invasive species, and the control of that. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Yeah,
another big issue. So the state of Maryland allowed counties to go ahead and put together their own bamboo legislation specifically. They passed a bill in 2023 that allowed that to happen. So this is, I serve on the Wicomico County Natural Resources Conservation Advisory Committee, NARCAC, in case anyone wants a fun acronym.
That is a fun one.
Through that, we started hearing of other counties. Everyone's trying to figure out, okay, how do we stop bamboo? And the problem with, it's literally a growing problem. I mean, everyone wants people to do what they want to do with their land, except, when you plant bamboo, certain types of bamboo are invasive, they keep on going. So we now have them, it's in the median on Route 50. It's in, it goes into when it creeps into the waterways, it just floats on downstream and then makes a new habitat elsewhere. What that means is that, as everyone knows, bamboo is really good at holding water. And when you hold water in a place like this, you get mosquitoes. So you get mosquito habitat. You get it's actually really good at spreading termites and other kind of issues. So there's a whole lot of issues that come along with bamboo. What we are trying to do is to try to be thoughtful about it. We're going to have another work session probably mid-July for the council. But what we're trying to do is trying to find a way where landowners can be alerted, hey, you have an invasive bamboo on your land. It's not, it can be creeping or it can be out of control. So if they want to keep it exactly like it is, that's fine, but they have to show that they're maintaining some sort of, perimeters or barriers. We as a county don't want to get into the business of fining people or anything like that. I think people want to do the right thing usually when they know better, but most folks just don't even know that it's how bad of an issue or problem it is.
Well, if you want more information about the bamboo legislation, go to the Wicomico.org website and you can find the agendas there. Of course, we'll keep you posted. Right now, we're going to check out the Pemberton 24 Festival of 5Ks. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Josh a little bit more about the upcoming referendum and a couple other topics in the county. One of the more interesting festivals in Wicomico County is the Pemberton 24 Festival of 5Ks. It's held September 20th and 21st at the Historical Park in Pemberton. There are 24 different 5K runs going all through the day and night into the next day. Make a team and you build up points competing in some or all of the runs. And there's bonus points for completing runs overnight and also for completing all of the runs. So it's a team competition. To get more information and to register, you go to pemberton24.com. Thanks for coming back. I'm Joe White, your host, along with Josh Hastings, Wicomico County Councilman. So Josh, we're going to talk a little bit about environmental issues and some of the other issues that have come up in the county regarding the recent 5-2 vote to pass for a referendum in November to go back to a county manager form of government. Right. You were one of the two folks that did vote against it, and I'd like to just find out a little bit about your insight and how you felt.
Well, as I said in the meeting, I don't have super strong feelings about it, but I do feel like, it worked fine for the first 8 years that we had a county executive. So what's changed? And in my mind, and if there were problems or issues, it should have been in the first 8 years, not since then. I've worked with 3 of the 4 county executives directly, the people sitting in that position. The rest of the counties across the state that are our size or larger are generally, with the exception of one in Southern Maryland, they're all moving in this direction. I think as a county, we adopted the county executive system too early. Usually you get over that 100,000 mark, and then it becomes something that you want to check out or consider. But we're the largest county on the Eastern Shore. We are by population. I think our issues are only going to continue to get more challenging. I don't know whether it goes forward or not. It doesn't really matter to me. I voted for originally, 18 or 20 years ago.
18 years ago, yeah.
I voted then to make sure that we had the system. I think a county executive generally is a good system. I didn't want to put my name forward with something to say that for me to vote for it and say that vote for the referendum, that would have then be me basically saying, that I think that there's a problem. I don't think that there's a problem. I think with that form of government, I think there's a problem in the way that it's been implemented, the systems that are currently in place. We've had a charter review committee that's supposed to give recommendations as to how things can be better. I think if we want to have another kind of a committee, regardless of whether the referendum moves forward, I think that would be a good idea for us to continue to evaluate how we operate.
You talked about in the public part, or when the council folks spoke about how they were going to vote and why they were voting that way. You talked about adding some qualifications you felt would be very important to have in a county executive. Can you speak a little bit about that and why you feel that way?
Yeah, and I don't plan on putting forth any legislation or anything to add qualifications in any kind of serious way. But I have 2 degrees from Salisbury University, one in business, one in political science. And then I went on to get my master's degree in public policy, which took me 6 years to do, of which I drove 34,600 miles back and forth to UMBC from Salisbury. I put a lot of time and investment into that education. My specific path, my degree specifically with that is managing public organizations. And it's not just about, being able to know what a county executive is and what's not. Running a government like we do requires an immense amount of education, understanding, wherewithal, know-how. The department heads that are there, they don't want you to come in on day one learning. They want you to come in on day one and be able to say, this is the way things should be. This is why things should go this way. Here's the policy that I'm taking from this county, and this is why we're doing it that way. I think a lot of people view the county executive position as a ceremonial position, like it is. I mean, for many governments, they do have a head. Mayors are ceremonial in many ways.
Sometimes, yeah.
Ours and locally tend to be more strong executives, but I think we need to actually run it like it should be. If it is an executive level position with more than a $200 million budget with hundreds of employees, why are we treating it like a ceremonial position? Why are we going, why not strengthen that position, find ways to make it work well with the council in order to then be successful? But for us to go back and assume that just because we go in with it to a different system, that things will somehow be better, that's not going to work that way. It's in reality.
So if the referendum does pass in November, and we go back to the council manager form of government like we had for many, many years, is that going to be something that you're going to feel strongly about, that the person who is in that manager's role has those qualifications for those reasons?
I would love to see that happen. If we do go back in that direction, I do want to see somebody who actually can, that actually has the understanding of, if you're stepping into that role, you better know what a comprehensive plan is. You better know what a TMDL is, what growth allocation means. You better know how the executive branch runs in all of the forms, from our accounting systems to the way that a government is very, very, very different than a business. You've got to come in and understand that on day one. The people that I went to my grad school with, they understood that. There was no drama among people like that. They didn't care. In fact, there's currently a current county executive that I was in class with, that he or I were in class with. They don't carry that kind of drama. It's about running efficient government. If that's what you're trained to do, you're going to do a very good job of that. I didn't get trained to be an electrician, so you're not going to see me out there trying to become, do anything. I'm not trained as a plumber. I wasn't trained in, you name it, any other field, from education or others. People like me specifically, I got in this because I think government is a way that can be helpful. It can be efficient. And if we're going to have a good system, then I think it needs to be one that's efficient, that listens to people. And so I'd rather that continue to be the system that we have. But regardless, I think Wicomico we are set to grow very strongly as a county. We've got 44 different languages currently spoken in Wicomico County. We've got, we added our ESOL, the English as a second language, that jumped over 20%. This 20% is just this past year.
Wow.
So our future is going to grow dramatically.
So when you talk about the comprehensive plan, and you think about a piece of land like the undeveloped park at Conley Mill, and you think about your background with protecting the environment, protecting the conservation side, what would you like to see happen with that park?
It's not a park yet for
Yes.
the Conley Mill, but I think in the future it'd be great when it actually can become a park. The bill of goods that was sold to us as the county council 6 years ago was that the Conley Mill space would, we would take the soil, the fill there, and basically put that soil onto our landfill. I think we have to add 6 inches every day or something like that. I forget the actual requirement is. But then when that was done, which would likely have been a 7-year process, that would then start to revert into becoming a plant, or officially becoming a park. I don't know that timeline. I still don't know what that timeline looks like, how much longer we have there. But when it can become a park, oh my God, it's going to be a great space. It is very, and folks don't know, it kind of backs up to another park that we have, the complex, I guess is what I used to call it. The Harry R. Park. Yeah, I don't know if they call it that anymore. But but it's really a beautiful space of land, and I think it's got large spaces for canoeing or other kind of things. Other water activities could be used for it. I think a lot of space for trails. We could add a whole lot of other things, including disc golf courses or others. I know that's been a big need that we still need to add more of those. So whatever that is, I look forward to engaging in the public process on that. But that could be, I don't know what, that usually occurs from the executive branch, from the head of our parks. And that timeline-wise, I'm not sure when that could be.
Do you think the whole process, especially in the last 6 or 7 years since that, we've had 3 different executives, do you think the process has been very transparent? Do you think it could be done in a more transparent way?
I think the challenge is that you've got the question of how long does it take to get the fill from the soil? Like that question is, we was sold to us as being more like a 6-year kind of a situation or 7 years, but it could be as much as 20 years. So what they try to do is then go get an assessment. They actually have a company that they hire to then figure out how much soil is left, and that's what the executive branch needs to do now.
Is that a report that the county council would get, or only get if the executive chose to share it?
No, they would. And that would all be a part of the planning for the park. We need to get into a master planning for the Conley Mill eventual park itself, but that really depends upon knowing how soon we can get in there.
So I attended the Parks and Rec meeting on June 25th at the Civic Center. There is a time there also for public comments and a great chance to see just that process in place. I thought one of the interesting agenda items that came up is they approved a very small, what they call it, like a mini library. It's a bookshare library. Right. A resident in Powellville area where Atkins Mill Park is, they're about to complete the park, and someone has volunteered, donated this mini library, no cost to the county. Right. The commission had to vote to approve that. And I'm interested to see your take on the actions that was needed to approve a very small mini library at a park that already exists versus the Parks and Rec Commission not being asked about to approve the safari at the quarry at a place that, as you spoke, could be used for recreation, could be used for environmental education as well. How do you feel about that?
Kind of 2 different things, though closely related. Currently, Conley Mill is not a park, and so I think that's the biggest definition. So then it doesn't go its way into the, into the park side of the equation yet. Whereas meanwhile, that's just part of the typical demosclerosis of government is that. For something like I actually had work done at the park you're actually discussing there. In addition to not the library, but when I was with the Lower Shore Land Trust, we actually put in a pollinator gardens and those kind of works. But same kind of thing. You got to go through an iterative process to do that. You want to make sure that you're being thoughtful and careful, and the local citizens around understand. For something like you're just planting plants, that's usually not as much of an issue. But certainly having an event or having anything that could be there could be a larger nuisance, then that really we should have a process. But I think as a whole, we need to start reducing as many of those kinds of the barriers as possible to the simple actions like putting in a little library or putting in a couple native plants. But to hosting a giant event that with thousands potentially of people and total involvement, very different situation.
Well, so the county council in the next couple meetings will be taking up the action to amend the code for Wicomico County in Chapter 22 so that they will have to be able to approve motorized events, and we'll keep you informed about when that hearing will actually be. Right now it's penciled in for the second meeting of July on the 20th. Once again, I'd like to invite Josh Hastings, Wicomico County Councilman, to take 3 minutes at the podium to talk about anything he'd like to.
I appreciate that. And by the way, I appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you trying to get more information out. I don't have anything immediately coming up that I will tell folks, please take a look at the invasive species regulation, the bamboo. That's going to be coming up. We're going to need a lot of comment. It's going to be a slow-moving process, but I want to be thoughtful about that. The question now you asked earlier, my background, what kind of led me to this kind of a work. I grew up on a farm in Mardella that. I spent most of my youth working out and fishing or walking around Athol, if anyone knows where Athol's at. But nowadays I work in natural resources, and I really want to make sure that Wicomico County has a future for for the folks like my family that grew up, that that you have a good farm, that that you have a life that you can grow, not just good food, but also a healthy, educated, happy family. So I may not represent that district anymore. Now I live in the Salisbury area, but we've got a lot of challenges in the county, I think, as a whole, from we mentioned issues of from our parks or other kind of things, but also we need to dramatically expand water and sewer access. We're currently going through that process now. That's going to be a huge endeavor, literally hundreds of millions of dollars. But that's vital to growing our community. We need to make sure that we grow in spaces for human habitat. That's been a really big issue, not just here in Wicomico, but across the country. But as a whole, I'm working to try to make sure that we're protecting a little bit of our past, that we have a good, path forward, that everyone can feel like this is a great place that they want to call home, and that they can really have the job that they want to have. We were the fourth largest area importer during COVID of people coming, our Salisbury-Wicomico metropolitan area, people who can do their jobs from anywhere. We were the fourth largest area in the country. That's a really big deal. So we've got folks who are coming into the area who who want to build a life here. I want to make sure that we're continuing to support them in that process. So that's what I'll continue to do, not just with regards to our natural resources but make sure that we're investing in education, make sure that we're, trying to have good governance happening, and that we're just being really good planners and good steward of the county. So if anyone ever wants to reach me, like I said, 410-251-5268, text me anytime. And I appreciate it again. Thank you again for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. I do encourage you, reach out to Josh via email or call him. Come out to a county council meeting, one of the most thoughtful and articulate council folks on the council. You have a chance you do have a chance at every meeting to stand up and speak your 3 minutes as well. And I can tell you it won't fall on deaf ears. Thanks for joining us for this episode. We'll be back next week. Have a great day.